Ciao Fabri, welcome back
Ciao guys.
in our podcast. It's been a busy day. These are busy days because a lot of things are happening with the end of the season, with the Club World Cup approaching. And today we talk about Liverpool. We discuss about Premier League, Champions League, but also a potential first signing in the coming days.
Yeah, because Liverpool are busy now after celebrating the Premier League title, after having a fantastic first season under Arne Slot and also Richard Hughes as new director. So Liverpool have had really busy months. Now it's time also to work on new signings. And the first signing could come really soon. I expect that here we go to be ready. Really, in a matter of days, it's going to be really short time. But Jeremie Frimpong is expected to join Liverpool because the agreement between Liverpool and the Dutch right back is really at the final stages on the contract. Everything has been discussed, length of the contract, salary, commission, everything involved in the package to sign one of the most interesting right backs around Europe. He did fantastic under Xabi Alonso at Bayer Leverkusen in the recent seasons. He always had this desire to go back to the Premier League, despite the reports on Barcelona and more clubs. He always wanted to go back to the Premier League. He was there when he was very young, and so to have the possibility to play really at regular level in Premier League. And the meetings with Liverpool have been super positive. So now the agreement with the player is very close. On Monday, a few days ago, Liverpool made a first approach to Bayer Leverkusen. They are in very good relationship to inform them about this conversation with Jeremie Frimpong to prepare the way also for the release clause, something around 35 million euros plus the solidarity payment. So this is the structure of the deal discussed with Bayer Leverkusen. Everything is in line to be completed, just waiting now for the formal steps. It's on Liverpool, also on the lawyers of the player, the agents. So discussions are underway on the final points, and then Jeremie Frimpong is expected to become the first signing for Liverpool this summer transfer window.
Talking about this deal, how important was Arne Slot in the process of the transfer?
Yeah, it was really important. Arne Slot is always involved in the conversation with Richard Hughes and all the people at the club to decide on new signings. Today was quite funny to see Arne Slot smile when asked about Frimpong. He said, obviously, I can't comment on players until we sign them, and this is what he did for the last 12 months since joining Liverpool 1 year ago. So this is the style of the coach, but in private, the conversation was very good. From what I heard, there was already some contact between Arne Slot and Jeremie Frimpong. They are both Dutch. My understanding is that internally in the coaching staff, so Arne Slot, but also other people at Liverpool, believe that Jeremie Frimpong is not just an excellent player on the offensive point of view, a player who can provide assists, score goals, we saw that at Bayer Leverkusen, but also with the potential to improve for a more physical football like the English one, also to defend more. So it's going to be a different way of playing, but Liverpool are convinced that the potential of Jeremie Frimpong is massive and is a player worth probably more than the release clause in their view. That's why Liverpool are ready to make this investment. Again, let's wait for the formal steps, but the verbal agreement is really close.
Talking about other players, we know that Huijsen is joining Real Madrid. It was an here we go a few minutes ago before we were recording. And but Liverpool were also in talks, or at least trying to sign him. How close was the deal?
Yeah, Liverpool were in the conversations. Let me also say, to be completely fair, that Liverpool have been the first club among the big ones from England to leave the table, to leave the conversations when they understood that Huijsen wanted to go to Real Madrid. Other clubs like Chelsea and Arsenal, till the very end, they wanted to try to be informed, they wanted to try to enter the conversation because they were really obsessed with this opportunity for Huijsen. Liverpool were in the conversation, but then when they understood that the player desire was to go elsewhere, to go to Real Madrid, Liverpool respected that and left the conversation already days ago. So that was not till the final minute with Liverpool. With other clubs, they were still hoping. It's been a big race. It started with Bayern, Tottenham and Newcastle in January, then Chelsea, Liverpool and Arsenal from February. So they all tried, including Liverpool, but Liverpool were not, let's say, that desperate. They tried, they had several conversations, but then they respected the desire of the player who's going to join Real Madrid officially in the next days.
So talking about Liverpool, and they were in talks with Huijsen, so they are still willing to sign a defender. And what about Konaté's future? That we know that has been some talks on that.
Yeah, considering how aggressive in a positive way, of course, Liverpool have been on this Dean Huijsen deal in the last 2-3 months. Again, apart from these 3-4 days, but February, March, April, Liverpool had several conversations. It means that they want to add one more centre back to the squad. Another player they like, for example, and this is the same for Chelsea, is Jorrel Hato at Ajax. Then let's see the pricing, let's see the conversation. Now the player is involved in a title race, so this is why the English clubs are still waiting to advance, but he's a player appreciated, for example. So I think in general, Liverpool Liverpool will have also more options and will consider seriously this opportunity to bring in one more centre-back in the summer transfer window, also because at the moment there is still no agreement with Ibu Konate to extend his contract till 2026, valid at the moment. We know the interest of Real Madrid. Many people can say, okay, now they signed Dinoisen. Yeah, but Real Madrid still believe that in the next year or two they need to add at least one more defender to this squad, also because of the age of their current defenders. So Konate is one of the players appreciated by Real Madrid. But in general, Liverpool still don't have an agreement with Ibrahima Konate on new deal. It was quite close around the end of October, November, very close. Then new problems arrived in terms of conversations and conditions of the deal changed, and this is why there is still no agreement. So let's see what happens with Konate. But I think for the summer transfer window, Liverpool will still be looking at defenders.
Talking about defenders, do you still expect Kwanzaa to leave the club? It's something that we already discussed a few weeks ago here on Many Blazers as well.
Yeah, it's still a possibility because for Jarrell Kansa, there are many clubs interested. Newcastle, for sure, is a player they have on their list. Again, not the only one, because Newcastle wait to see whether they will be in Champions League next season or not. That's going to be important also in terms of budget. But Jarrell Kansa, for sure, is one of the players they are monitoring. And then also, Bundesliga clubs, from what I heard, are tracking the player because they believe he has a big potential. At Liverpool, he's highly rated, but he's not finding any consistency. Obviously, when you have players like Van Dijk, Konate, it's not easy to play on a regular basis. This is why from Bundesliga there is interest, again, also from Premier League. So I think this is going to be one of the situations to watch and to follow in the next months.
To close our chapter on defenders, I mean, there are a lot of topics here to discuss about defenders. That's why we're talking a lot about them. What about Virgil van Dijk, if you have something to reveal on him?
Yeah, I wanted to clarify something because I think it's probably quite underrated how important it was for Liverpool to extend the contract of Virgil van Dijk. It's not just about the player, it's also about the leader, it's also about the message you're sending to your own players, the players who want to come to the club in the future. So that's been really, really massive. And let me say something. I was already mentioning that a few weeks ago, but not in details. What I heard is that Virgil van Dijk, around the end of December, received a really big proposal from Saudi. It was not the same numbers as Mo Salah, but close to that. And for a defender, that was for sure a record deal in terms of salary. But Virgil van Dijk only wanted to continue at Liverpool. So he respected, obviously, this possibility to go to Saudi. He heard the proposal, but then he was very clear, despite the crazy bid on the table from Saudi, he wanted to continue at Liverpool. But that Saudi possibility was concrete, was serious, was an incredible amount of money, but Virgil van Dijk loves Liverpool, decided to extend his contract, and obviously is going to be a big part of the squad also for the next 2 years.
So let's move to what's probably, I would say, one of the biggest topics we are right now in transfer market. I'm talking about Florian Wirtz. There has been a lot of rumors and a lot of questions also around the meeting on about Florian Wirtz. What can we say about it?
Yeah, look, Liverpool, as obviously top clubs have to do, wanted to understand the situation of Florian Wirtz, wanted to present their project, their situation to Florian Wirtz, also because at the moment there is nothing agreed for Florian Wirtz. And this is why his parents decided to travel to England, to have contacts with Liverpool, contacts with Manchester City. Then there is Bayern, fully involved in the conversation. Internally at Bayern, they believe they are the clear favorites for Florian Wirtz. They maintain their position that they want to go for the player, they want to sign the player, and they believe that they will be successful. But meanwhile, the player is still speaking also to other clubs with different position, with different approaches. For example, Manchester City want to build a long-term relationship with Bayer Leverkusen, include players in the deal, prepare something for young talents to go Bayer Leverkusen in the future, and then obviously include Florian Wirtz as part of this conversation as dream target for them. But they know it's going to be very difficult. This is why they have Gibbs White on the list too. Liverpool wanted to discuss this possibility with the player because they want to be involved in the conversation in case the deal to Bayern doesn't happen, but they are perfectly aware at Liverpool that Bayern are the clear favorites for this story. So this is why the excitement around Liverpool is still at very early stages. It's not something considered advanced or close. So it's a moment where all the parties involved are having conversations. Florian Wirtz will take his time to make his decision, and then there is Bayer Leverkusen, because big part of the story is going to be obviously to reach an agreement on a financial package also with Leverkusen.
Do you still think Darwin Nunez will leave Liverpool this summer? That's a big question.
Yeah, I expect Darwin Nunez to go. I expect Darwin Nunez to leave Liverpool. That's my feeling since February. In January, as I mentioned, he was very close to joining Al Nassr first, and then Al Hilal. Both clubs wanted the player, but then the point was that Liverpool didn't want to change the squad during the January transfer window. Obviously, they were first in the table in Premier League, still competing for the Champions League, so they didn't want to change anything for Arne Slot during the season, mid-season, like in January. But now, my expectation is for Liverpool and Darwin Nunez to part ways. There is interest from Saudi again, so that could be still a possibility. There is also some interest from Napoli in Italy. Napoli made some calls to be informed of the situation of Darwin Nunez. They want to add at least one more striker to the squad. They will play Champions League next season, and so Darwin Nunez is one of the players they like, but I'm sure also more clubs will join the conversation, and so Darwin Nunez is expected to leave Liverpool this summer.
And last one for today, what about Luis Diaz?
Yeah, also Luis Diaz is an interesting situation to follow because there is a lot of talk about a new contract, but at the moment there is still no advanced conversation about that. So let's see how Liverpool and the agents of the player will discuss in the next days and weeks to clarify the situation. But remember about Saudi also in this case. In January, Saudi clubs approached Luis Diaz. That was not as advanced as it was for Darwin Nunez. It was a different stage of the conversation. It was cut very early because Luis Diaz also decided to stay at Liverpool in January. But now, in case a big proposal comes from Saudi, the situation could be different. So let's follow also Luis Diaz as part of this summer transfer window for Liverpool. And then, obviously, I think also meeting with Florian Wirtz sends quite a clear message that Liverpool, in case there will be a big opportunity, a big name on the market, they want to be there, they want to try. And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
Thank you, Fabri, for today. I'm sure we will talk more about Liverpool in the coming weeks and talk to you soon.
Thank you. Ciao.